Namaste, dear viewers. Welcome to Satsang Interactive. Today we have with us His Holiness Sri Sri Nimishananda Guruji, and Team Satsang is very much blessed to have His divine presence online. Today we humbly pray to His Holiness to bless all His viewers through a discourse. Thank you, Guruji. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, dear Satsang. सर्वमंगल मांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थ साधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते कावेरी लोकपावनी संगम क्षेत्रे सुस्थिते श्री चक्र राज सहिते श्री निमिषांबा नमोस्तुते सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री देवी निमिषांबा गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः. Jai Mata. I welcome one and all of you to this wonderful platform called as Satsang. And today I want to talk to you about divinity and the presence of divinity within us. Most of us have felt what is God and what is divinity. We all know that God and divinity is one and the same, and that is the reason we have been always communicating with this kind or with this form of divinity in us. Some of us do communicate in an external way for an external prayer. Most of us do a silent prayer internally, like we try to communicate with God internally through the heart. And normally, this sort of a communication or this sort of communing with the divinity is only from the heart, from deep within. Some of us do have the basic idea that we have to touch God, we have to touch or the base of the God. That means to say we have to somewhere connect ourselves with rites and rituals in life. Like this, many ways we always think that somewhere God is connected to us in some form or the other. Most of us, it depends upon the intensity of prayers, and that is how we always think that divinity becomes accessible to us with our own, not only the concept, but how close we are to God. For example, we are very close to God when normally a problem beseeches us, or a problem is bothering us, or any kind of niggly wiggly things which normally sees to us that we get connected to the base of our soul. This is how the human tendency from ages have been. There have been many instances where people have started communicating with God in some way or the other so that to touch base with God. And intense prayers, intense sadhana was what we call it, leads us to touch and have a more closer contact with God. But today, in this materialistic world, there is not much we can do about it. The reason is because we think that if we have to touch base with God, that means to say that there has to be some kind of an inner exploration for some of us, some kind of an external method where we touch base with God, or through astrology, or through psychic senses, or through the power of the intellect, or the power of the mind. We think we can touch base with God. It all depends on our background, our educational, our moral. To the majority of the people, there are always what we call, there is a financial base also, or a financial relationship that is being established with God or with divinity. Actually, God doesn't see all these things. God only looks at divinity, only looks at that with that kind of an intense devotion. That's it. It is not bothered about devotion. It is not bothered about rites or rituals. It is not bothered with the power of speech or the oratorial skills that is required to commune with God, or it doesn't require Sanskrit, or it doesn't require a Sanskrit grammar to communicate with God. She clearly shows there has to be an intense yearning inside each one of us so that we can commune with God directly. This has been a problem within us. This has been a problem to all of us most of the times or from ages immemorial. How do we do that? How do we come about it? That's the reason, we always suggest there is only a simple way you can communicate with God. You just open your heart to God. Before doing any kind of a prayer, before doing any kind of an intense prayer or an intense rite and ritual, you have to start opening your heart to God or to divinity. That is the key point here. That is the point I would like to stress each one of you. Remember, many of you, in fact, will get confused because you go to many people, you go to many saints, you may go to many kinds of spiritual people who may suggest n number of ways to see and to communicate to God. So, most of you will be completely perplexed. You will be confused, in short. How am I going to communicate with God? Because each one of them have got different ideas, and it is their own experiences which tell you that unless and until you start the basic communication with divinity or to divinity from the base of your soul, then only God starts responding to you. In the meanwhile also, when most of you have started this communication, you suddenly feel that God is not communicating the way He is supposed to communicate with all of you. Don't you feel so? Don't you ever feel so? Why you should always run to an astrologer or to a psychic medium just to solve all your problems? Don't you feel that there is an intense feeling inside me? How come I am not able to touch base with God, wherein the other person is able to do so wonderfully well? How is he able to do it? It is very simple. You have got the communication skills, no doubt about it, but the deep exploration is that there is no intense feeling of devotion inside you. So that is why you feel that I am not able to communicate with God much more than what it should be. So how do you do that? First and the foremost thing is, there has to be an intense kind of a prayer from within you. Now, normally, how intense your prayer is? Your prayer depends upon the number of wants you have on that particular day or on the particular time of your life. Normally, we always pray only for our wants to be fulfilled. There are no other way because we are not aware of the thing that God actually gives us grace, and grace is able to satisfy and also to take care of all our needs and wants. This is the first thing you all have to understand. There has to be an intense devotion towards God, and you should understand wants have to be minimized because there has to be the mind and the intellect playing along with the devotion factor within you. Look, we are all human beings. We are all extraordinary human beings, and don't forget that. That is the reason we have to use very intensively devotion along with the two arenas or with the two faculties or the internal faculties called as mind and intellect from within us. Till we use it very judiciously, and since we measure all the ingredients in a cup and then offer it to God. How do we do that? It's simple. Either you are praying only with your mind and intellect, or you are praying very intensively from the heart. That is the reason both the prayers are not as successful as it used to be once upon a time within you. Why is it so? Because you have always understood the more the innocence you have, the more deep your devotion is. That is the reason as you grow older and older, or as you cross your 30 years, you should understand you should use your mind and intellect, wherein these are the essential ingredients to combine with the Shraddha or the Bhakti of your intellect. Then what happens? There is an homogeneous mass because you have used all your internal faculties in the right proportion and you go and approach God. Remember, when we go to a temple or when we go to a god or a guru, we say, yes, there has to be a basket of flowers or there has to be a basket of fruits. Why is it so? The reason is because you are offering yourself that I am very sublime, I am very tender like flowers, I am also as sweet as the fruits I have come to offer to you, my Lord or my Guru, so that you please accept it and bless me with that kind of an infinite power called as grace from deep within you. From now onwards, this is the way we start praying. Don't use either the mind or the intellect, or don't also use just Shraddha or devotion alone itself. Because what happens if you just use Shraddha or Bhakti, then what happens? The intensity becomes so much and you feel very, very dry. And as you feel more and more dry, you will feel without your own knowledge that there is a quotient of expectations which has a slow build-up from within you. And this build-up is unnecessary because again you are pressing yourself or you are pressurizing yourself to high levels of stress and strain. That is the reason when people like us advocate that there should be a proper mix of devotion without so much of earning inside you, that there should be a proper balance of the mix inside you. That is why we say such prayers are answered immediately. Why is it so? Why are such prayers answered immediately? The reason is because your intensity is just enough for you. Yes, God is ready to answer your prayers. Now this is what we call conversations with the divinity, or conversations to the extent of presence of divinity within you. Remember, no rites or rituals is necessary other than the basic rites or rituals inside you. That is more than enough. There should be a proper blend of intellect and what I call that kind of an ability of expressing yourself, so that the power of your speech or the intense earning the power of the speech should be so intense that it should be able to deliver the point to divinity well within you. This is the second point. And the third thing is, once you become very light when we pray intensively with this kind of a devotion, then no planetary position of any planet, whether the ill effects of planets or the good effects of planet, will not bother you much more than you are supposed to bother, or these are supposed to bother. And these keep cropping up in your life every 2 months once or 3 months once, because God doesn't look at it. Doesn't look at all of this as a fanfare. or doesn't look at all of this. Hey, look, I am good in rites and rituals, or I am very good in wearing a rudraksha, or I am very good in doing this or doing that, or I am doing a lot of charity. All this is not considered very much by God. It only requires, God only requires, or the presence of divinity only requires your intense earning, and also the presence of divinity is more felt, and it is more the response will be with divinity when you don't really take care of all these extra paraphernalia, and you just have to say, make an intense prayer. And to make an intense prayer, what is required is just your heart and the way you do that. It can be a silent place, it can be on your bed, or it can be on the puja, or it can be anything. Just surrender yourself for 5 minutes or 10 minutes totally with that intense kind of devotion, and you say, my dear God, my dear divinity, wherever you are, my dear God, whichever form you are or whichever form I am praying to, just listen to my prayers and please give me the grace that is required to do or to cover every ill health or to cover every kind of a lacuna in me and my near and dear ones, so that let all of us enjoy the grace, and every day 5 to 10 minutes in the morning or 5 to 10 minutes in the evening, you will understand that divinity is much more closer to you than before. This is the key point. I'll rejoin you back again in a day or two to continue the second part of my discourse to you, so that I just want you to first in a day or two just understand the presence of divinity is more felt from deep within you, only from deep within you. No else or no external communication is required. You are manufactured, I'm sorry to use that, but you are made, you are manufactured, and you are made according to God's way. That is how you have to understand. You are not just made for the karmic way. You are just not made to do everything else they do. It is just that you are made to experience the unique presence of a kind of a talent or a skill what God has blessed you with. So you just have to find your unique talent or the unique skills you have. Whatever it is, each one of us have a unique skill and a unique talent, and when you establish the presence of divinity within, you will come to find out, yes, I have a special skill, I have a special talent where I need not just nurture, I have to just tap that area, and each one of us and each one of you will enjoy the presence of divinity. So once again, Jai Mata, and I wish you the best of everything in life, the best of happiness, the best of peace, the best of prosperity, and the best kind of a grace in which God has made you to be. You are only made to enjoy, you are not made to suffer. Remember this key formula, you are only made to only enjoy your will, enjoy your willpower, enjoy your resolution power or the sankalpa power. Other than that, you are not even made to enjoy karma. Even karma is your own making, and it is the lack of the mental capacity or the capability of you. Why people suffer today is because they lack the mental will as well as the mental skill, and they always think if they are carried away in a time, everything will become all right over a period of time. No, you're wrong. You should not be allowed to be carried away by the karmic tide. Rather than that, you should be able to oppose it. How do you do that? Very silently. You just say, hey God, oh my dear God, oh my dear divinity, and then you name whatever form you like to be named, and then you say, to this particular form, I pray that I get my absolute will and the power of resolution so that I am able to surpass and I am able to tide over all these feelings or the karma in you. So, once again, my dear friends, let us meet again in a day or two and express the future part of this kind of a divine satsang with all of you. Thank you for being with me, and may God bless and let my divine mother Sri Shri Nimshamba bless all of you. Jai Mata.
On behalf of all the viewers, let us all thank Sri Sri Nimshananda Guruji for his wonderful satsang today. We humbly pray that you join us more often, and more often we can have such satsangs and move towards enlightenment. Thank you, Guruji. Thanks a lot.